if one person just stops and really observes, just pause and think back over your own personal life experience, your family and friends' life experiences, it will reveal so much. You don't even really have to go far, in my opinion, or dig too deep to understand that Black people have been tricked into their own slavery. We embrace it now due to programming.
What message to convey to other Black women that has an opposite political view from yours?
Just stand on your decision. Make sure that you are doing your due diligence in investigating and making sure that you are choosing the better candidate, or if you have like a view that is different from mine. This is why I know I like a combination of different sides. Like, I can see the conservative side, I can see a liberal side, I can see socialist, I can see those sides. So I don't necessarily say it's opposing, but I think, like Joy is saying, like, we have to have a mix of all of that for it to kind of like make sense. It has to be a balance. So I don't necessarily look at it as an opposing view, but I like, I just like to stand on whatever you view, but be open and being flexible, and maybe those views changing, because that could happen. I don't feel like, you look at things one way your entire life. I have been taught to be Democratic all my life until I got older and I started doing my due diligence. I'm like, well, hold up. I don't know if I'm really Democratic like that. So you start to, learn. So I just say, anybody that has opposing view, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Do your due diligence. Make sure that your view consistently aligns with your views, and if not, be open and be flexible to change that.
Nice. I'm gonna go to Joy.
I stand with that too, what Tamara said. I think it's having this discussion is helpful, right? If people are willing to be open. If they're not willing, that's why I told you, ladies, I try to stay away because a lot of people are not willing to be open to listen. When you hear some conservative views that you're like, oh, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, like we've talked about throughout this entire discourse, is we can side with these views. We can see how they work, but it is those that are going to sit in seats that would implement them that matters, from the local all the way to the top. And so even if they say one thing, are you trusting that these people are going to implement what they say? Do we have the proper mechanism to implement them? That's really all that matters at the end of the day. And so no matter if we disagree on, on views, it's, are we aligned, like Timur said, to go do our due diligence to say, he said this, she said this, but wait a minute, the Government Accountability Office or whatever, institute or whatever that independent that you read up said statistically, boom, 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 boom. Well, hold on. Once they lay that out for you and look at what you want for yourself and for your family and for your society and community, how do those align? And so I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing. I'm just saying, let's talk about it. And at the end of the day, this is why we each have a vote. You vote, you stand by it, right? And then we all pray.
That part.
Yes, indeed. Sharitha. Sharitha, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about that. The main point I guess I would like to make is this. And, instead of continuing to split hairs, I think we must learn to stop compartmentalizing. Like we all said, having that blend. It's okay to have differing opinions, but is it really your opinion or belief, or is it someone else's? Because a lot of this stuff is some subtle propaganda and programming that seeps in, right? So what I would ask my fellow sisters to do is think, analyze, and research instead of just responding with, pure emotion. I like intelligible exchange, such as what we're having here. I find that the political conversations I've engaged in with members of my family in the past were constructed purely on these hunches and feelings. They never presented any type of research or evidence of their own. They were just parroting what they heard, the talking heads on mainstream media. And so I have found that if one person just stops and really observes, just pause and think back over your own personal life experience, your family and friends' life experiences, it will reveal so much. You don't even really have to go far, in my opinion, or dig too deep to understand that Black people have been tricked into their own slavery. We embrace it now due to programming. We've been talking about this for over an hour now. And if you know, I feel like, again, if you don't believe, just look up the documentaries made on, on the founding of these, especially the Democratic Party. I watched a couple of them, but one that really stood out was the one, I think, by Dinesh D'Souza or something. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with anything. I don't want to say anything that could get, Mel, your channel struck or banned.
But on this channel, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, we live
say
in
what you want. Feel free.
Okay. We live in an era of information, and I'll wrap this up. There's no excuse nowadays for folks to run by default anymore.
Right.
There's Google, and even with all of the shadow banning and algorithmic manipulation they do to control search results, I still managed to find a few gems here and there that they forgot to hide or they overlooked some kind of way. So that's all I really, in my Forrest Gump voice.
I wanted to add, when you said Google, I was like, that's what gets me from people. I'm like, you don't even have to do deep research.
No.
Like the first page of Google results, you will get a mix from all over the world telling you what, like, you don't even look at US, you look at international sources and let them talk to you. And people, it's so surprising. People wouldn't even do the basic Google search. But I heard, did you believe your auntie when she said that yesterday? So why you believe in a whole stranger? Like, really? Anyway, sorry. I just had to add.
That's where I am on that. People just gotta think for yourself and what resonates with you. No
doubt. Amanda.
All right, for me, I have this thing that we as Black people got to get out of. They say, we always say, well, they said, or they say. What do you say? What do you think? You have to be willing, like Tamara said, to dig. And you may not have, Joyce said, you may not have to dig that far, but you have to dig. And don't always come to a conversation ready to argue or on the defense, ready to prove your point. I'm always open to my point being disproven or my opinion being open to change. And we have to enter into every discussion, every conversation like that on anything, because you may have perspective that I wasn't privy to. You may have a wisdom from your aunts and your elders that I wasn't privileged to. So then it will allow my opinion to change. Not that you won the fight, but you were able to educate me. And that's how we have to look at it, as it's like you're pouring into a pot. Like we're all pouring into the same pot. And it's not about who takes the pot. It's like, okay, once we pour all into this pot, you bring what you have, you bring your knowledge, you bring your wisdom, you bring your education, you bring your research, and then we all pour a cup of it. And then we disperse, and we're equal. But it's not about the fight. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about having an open mind and not worrying about what they say or what your auntie said, or, because I always look at it like, when you say they, who is they? And where did they get that from? What research did they do? Who was the they that told them that? Where did they get it from? So I just feel like we just need to come into it ready and open for our opinion to change, open for our mindset to change. And sometimes you do have to stand firm on what you believe, but also be okay with another person doing that as well. Like, we may leave a conversation, you still feel how you feel, I still feel how I feel, but you've given me some extra education. I'm sorry, y'all. You've given me some extra education, some extra knowledge to go back and think about, to pray on. And you may not change my opinion right now, but guess what? Once I get back and think about, because I'm already thinking about things that you guys have said. Once I go back in my own time and I'm thinking about it, it may be that, what, she was right. Like, she was right about that. Maybe I need to look at that a little bit different. and my view or my aspect on certain things may change. But if we come into it ready to argue or ready to prove a point that we don't even know where we got that point from, we don't even really know why we feel like that. Like she said, a lot of us, I remember voting for the first time, and I voted Democratic all the way down the board just because that's what I was taught. And then I remember one of the candidates, this was in a local election, some things came out about him, and I was like, if I had just done a little research, I would have known that. I would have known that. And I wouldn't have voted for him. But I strictly voted Democratic because that's what my family had always done. So I just feel like we just need to be open-minded and get away from what they say.
I love that. I want to say thank you, Amanda. Like, she should just, like,
Indeed.
very calm. I like how you just lay it out.
She just ran like she tired.
I know, she's just like, I love it, because I think that's why I've told you, ladies, I don't have these conversations, because I feel like nobody knows it all. No. Nobody knows it. And we all already agreed that, hey, their power is behind the scenes. We only do our best, right? But their power is, and we can't change that. And if we come from that perspective, then I can learn from each of you. And I can have where I go back and research deeper based on what I heard from each of you for myself, and know what that impact is like for me. The same way we'll have pay taxes, our local, take care of our school district, like there are issues. Like, to your point about voting, sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't research enough on that person. School district, like the county of these matters, but how many people have the time, even with Google on their phones, to look that up? And then tomorrow when something comes out, like, they go, oh, really? Oh, I thought he was good. How did you think that? How did you figure that out? Right. And so I hope that people in this cycle get better from the clips I see, because it's just too toxic for me to watch some of these stuff. But the clips I see, unfortunately, I wish people think like you do. But most people are just ready, armor on, ready to go. And I'm saying, we're all in the same boat, right?
Correct.
We're not bazillionaires right there, right? They get to live their lives.
It's that fighting stance is by design,
Yes, keep us divided.
But the pressure cooker on all these people about certain issues and create the divisiveness that we're seeing.
But we need to stop. Like, for me, I'm like, but you're adults. Like, they can do all that because they make money from it, and they whatever they get from it. But we need to stop, pause, and go, like, why are we letting them have us do this? Are they really making us? Or can we just pause and be like, forget you? Like, no. Right? And that's what gets me, is like, they put these labels on us. They tell us we're this side, we're this. You got to be this, you got to be this. Why are we listening to them again? Like that, I don't understand that. Why we just listen to them and then just we're ready. But like Amanda said, it's like, if I sit here and I go, oh, that's interesting. I never looked at it like that. We're adults, we're learning, we're growing, and that should be normal. But unfortunately, every time I hear any like sound, I'm like, oh gosh, turn it off. Turn it because they're fighting, they're not listening at all.
Right. Deprogram, reprogram, and leave in silence.
Yes.
I feel like we need like a 3-step course from Shredder. This is how we get the community back.
It's been an amazing conversation, ladies, and we're gonna go into our final section. What I want you guys to do is wrap up, everyone, to give their final thoughts, but you have to answer this question. Who do you predict will win the 2024 presidential election? 2024 election. And why? The why is important. I want to know. Now we're going to start with Joy. Give your final thoughts and answer those 2 questions.
We talked so much you didn't even know what year it was anymore, Mel. Really?
Right.
I can't even know. Honestly, if I go off of just what I've heard people say generally and see on social media, and just for me, the vibe I'm getting, it would be the Democratic ticket. And I hate to say the ticket or whatever, but the reason I say that is I think a lot of people are still waiting to feel not being caged by, oh, I'm a Christian, I must do this, right? Because of my religion, I must do this. If I don't do that, then I'm not a follower of Christ. I think I feel like people are torn between looking at the issues, investigating, and just saying, if I'm Christian, I must do this. If I'm this, I must do that, right? I think that's hard for people, but I feel almost like an Obama-ish vibe with the new ticket on the Democratic side, where people are just like, you know what? If I look at it, if I'm just, I think Tamara, you were the one that said this earlier, right? If I just look at qualifications, right, and just look at just generally, it's like I'll up here, like, then I'm going to go this way. So this is why I feel the Democratic ticket will win, because a lot of people are still waiting from, okay, you are not the king. Tell me what you plan to do. And please stop talking about her laughter. Stop talking about she's ugly. Just tell me how you're going to rule this country. You just, and people are tired of that. And unless something changes, we have what, 79 days to the election? Unless that changes, where there's not the name calling, the cattiness, and just focus on, listen, I did this for you when I was in office, and that's what I plan to do again. Unless that happens, I feel like that's the side it's going to be.
Sharita, with your muted self.
I'm mute, Sharita. I'm mute.
Y'all, I don't know what to say. Maybe it's because I ain't get enough sleep. I don't know what it is with me and this mute button. Oh wow. Well, I just got to stick with reality. I have no idea, because we are now finding ourselves in a world of AI and technology that someone can program to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it happen in 2020. The evidence is astounding if you know where to look. I see the media and the financial powerhouses that back their chosen selected candidates. I don't really know what Trump's real intentions are. I think he's a pariah. He's a thorn in the deep state side. He's that ornery, rebellious kid that don't want to listen to his parents. He has his reasons for doing what he's doing. They've used lawfare, to the fullest extent. That didn't work. He's out here still rallying, holding press conferences, interviews, getting shot, facing imprisonment. Why? That's the big question. The other side, I don't see Kamala. Where is she? She's ducking and dodging, playing red light, green light with us. I don't understand this. We are definitely, the dynamics are totally different. And I will say this, initially they gave us the illusion that we had a voice, and when the voice of the masses didn't support the targeted agenda, I feel like extreme actions were put into play. They put everything on the table to ensure that everyone chooses correctly, up to and including, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but at the end of the day, they have shown the world who's really in control. And as long as we remain complacent, we will always be complicit. So, we're so busy. Lastly, we're so busy worrying about who the next president is going to be, when Congress is who we really need to be worrying about, because they hold the power and the purse strings. The legislators are the biggest gangsters out here. They have the sole power to decide whether or not we, one, go to war. President doesn't have the powers to declare war. That rests with Congress. Two, subsequent funding of these wars, the allocation of funds that are paid by you and me, our tax dollars. And three, whether or not the government even continues to function due to shutdowns. Like, we have potential risks of shutdown, twice a year now? This is ridiculous. And then last, roughly 85% of congressional members, both senators and representatives alike, are beholden to the lobbyists. I just want us to keep this in mind. The office of the President of the United States Corporation is merely that of a CEO, the face. He or she has, still has to do what the board, aka Congress, wants him or her to do. Why do you think the oligarchs and lobbyists or their handlers who work for them are in the members of Congress face all the time? Why do you think Congress still has to give the green light for transition of power from one CEO, aka president, to the next, with the VP being the wild card? It's right in front of our face, hidden in plain sight. This is why I don't really go back and forth and get emotionally engaged about who's going to be selected, not elected, selected by our so-called representation, because they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do.
And with that being said, who the hell you think they're gonna put in there?
When I said I don't know. This is what I'm seeing. I've told you I'm an observer. I don't know. I'm just watching because I see the scale going like this. You know, you just see a lot of that happening. So I can't even say or speculate who our selectors are going to choose and how this is going to happen. Because to be honest with you, I think anything is possible at this point. I really do. Nothing is the same. A lot of stuff has been juxtaposed and switched upside down. I feel like Alice in Wonderland. Stuff is backwards and forwards at the same time. So, yeah, like that is really my position. I know you was like, you gotta answer this question, but that is really where I am because we have something different in play. As I mentioned, AI and technology. Things can be taken, even though someone won the popular vote or they did it. At this point, I have no clue. I'm just gonna sit back and watch and see what happens. I'm gonna hope for the best, but you know, I just don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Amanda.
I feel like it'll be Kamala, and the reason I feel like that is because, first of all, because some Black people will vote out of obligation. Like we feel like just because somebody looks like us, you know, and this is what I've heard, you know, we should vote that way. And then they're catering to a community that's distracted, you know, that they're distracted from the real issues. Like they're distracted from like their true qualities. It's like we are an instant gratification type of society. It's like, what do you put in our face right now? What makes us feel good? If it makes me feel good right now, I'm going for that. Like we don't worry about what's gonna come with the backlash or what's gonna happen, you know, after this gratification or this good feeling leaves. And that's just where we are as a society, you know. And I feel like that's why Megan Thee Stallion was put there. You know, that made us feel good. So she won a lot of votes just from that, without having to say anything to that group of people. And I feel like that was strategic. But I feel like, you know, they cater that they are catering to a people who don't dig. If you look at their political campaigns, and like she said, she's not saying much. She's not saying much. She's just throwing a little bit out there to see what sticks on the wall, and we're just gonna run with it. And that's why I feel like, you know, they probably will win. And it's not to discredit her, you know, to discredit her at all, but just the way that the campaign is going, and the target audience and how they're targeting their audience, and this obligation and an unwarranted obligation that Black people have. Just because it's Black, it's right, and we're obligated to do that, because I've heard that over and over and over again. You know, not to say that it's right or it's wrong, but a lot of people are just, oh, we're just voting for her because she's Black, or we're just voting for her because she's, you know, oh, that's the first woman president. I want my daughters to see the first woman or Black woman that's president. Not worrying about whether she's going to be a successful one or not. You know, not worrying about if the things that she's implementing are really going to help your daughters. You just want them to see it. And I think we get tunnel vision. And so I just really feel like I don't know if that's their intention, but it seems to me like that's their intention. Like the people that they're targeting are ones that are not like us, that are going to dig. You know, you're going to have those that are going to do it anyway. But the people that they're going after, that's not the group of people. So I feel like it'll be. And then people just, you know, we have this thing that we hate Trump. People hate Trump. Like Black people, we just hate Trump. You know, it's just like we're supposed to. You know what I mean? So it's like picking the lesser of two evils to me. But I just feel like the way the people that they're targeting and the way that they are campaigning, and they're going towards the people that are not going to do the digging, and it's not going to be hard to secure that vote.
I was going to add, Mel, if you don't mind, too, when you made that statement about less of two evils, I mean, this is what we're talking about, the systems, right, in place. I think for a long time, that's what it's become, because we tried to, there was a time I was an independent for a long time, because I just, for me, conscience-wise, could not on either side. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, you're wasting your vote. Right. You got to dig, because we know it doesn't count. Every two-party system, we know you're wasting it. You're just taking it away from one or the other. Right. And so I had to get to a point where it's like, you got to dig deeper and see what you can stomach. So unfortunately, I feel like for a lot of people who refuse to even dig, not just the ones that like, because she's Black, like they're just some people that are like, what's the point? Right. What's the point? So it's easier to just say, she's Black, I'll go for that. Right. That's at least better. Right. And it's because what's the point? Because they feel like, and then there are people on the other side too, that'll do the same thing. You know what? This is my principle. And I feel like this one thing on the other side turns me off. So that's enough for me to vote there. So I'm not going to dig any deeper, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, the problem with the two-party system is you don't really have a choice but to pick the lesser of two evils. And is that going to change? Oh, I don't know. But at the end of the day is, you know what? When you pick that, that's just the top. Like Schrader said, the CEO. That's beautiful. That's the shiny object. But we need to make sure the board is right. We need to make sure that the VPs on the bottom are right. And that's where the state and the local elections come into play.
Right.
But who, more importantly, why do we think we are the ones electing someone? That's what I'm getting to. We can have our moments all we want, but it's the selectors that are going to choose at the end of the day who sits in the Oval.
True, but they get influence too. That's the populist vote.
Right.
That sways the electoral college one way or the other. And so that's why where we go matters to what but they're the final selectors, the electoral college. That's true. But these are also regular humans like you and I that have lives that go, oh, so people think this, okay, maybe this.
I believe that until the 2020 election happened, when I saw the proof and evidence of what came about from this election. That totally flipped my world upside down about thinking that the electoral college, well, just us with the popular vote sway. Yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that right here.
If y'all want to, we can right after Tamara says her answer. Give me one second. Tamara.
He's so funny. You mean, okay, so who do I predict will win? Who do I think the Electoral College is going to select?
And why?
I think they're going to select Kamala, only because I just think like this was a plan. This has been a plan for years, and I think even when Biden came into office, I think him even choosing her as a VP has been a plan in place from jump. Okay. And it's just even like when Joy said her credentials and her backing, that was on purpose. If they were going to choose a woman in office, they were going to choose the creme of the crop. Okay. They were going to choose the top to back him up. So this was like essentially like a chess move to me. And I feel like how quickly she got thrown in our face. We pretty much saw Biden, I don't know what you want to call it, his health, and, it was failing over the years. I think they saw that too. And they knew he was not going to make it this last term. So it's just really out of convenience. I think that they sprung her on us when they did. I think all of this was planned. I definitely think Kamala is going to take it. However, if you want to go based off the popular vote, I think there's going to be two sides. Either you're going to have people that are going to vote for Kamala because she is a Black woman, and you're going to have people vote for Trump because she is a Black woman, and they don't want a Black woman running our country. So I think this election, we're going to see our country's true colors, honestly. And this is in between who the Electoral College chooses and the popular vote, because now we know how the people think. So I think it's going to be Kamala, just based on that.
Good stuff. All right, is there any
this is why I told you, Mel, it's reminiscent of 2008 again. And I love the way you put it, Tamara. The people who she's a Black woman on either side. Like there are people who say, no, I don't want to look into whether she's good or not. She's Black. That's the end for me. And the people So it's gonna happen either way. But like I say, at the end of it all, I go back to Prince and say, Lord have mercy. That's it.
Please.
That's all.
Show us grace and mercy, please.
That's it.
Exactly. Yes.
Man, I really, really appreciate you ladies for coming on. It took us like an hour and a half to get for somebody to say the name Trump. I'm proud of you guys for getting there and doing it. Like he the boogeyman. He the boogeyman. We can't say his name. Anyway, man, I love this. It was so incredible. I hope someone from the audience, I'm sure of it, someone from the audience was able. You guys talked about the person on the fence a lot, and I think this conversation can help with that, whichever side you go on. But I really appreciate you ladies once again for coming, taking your time to share with me on this. Hopefully it's not the last time we can do a panel together. It don't have to be this hard of a topic. Maybe we could do something else in the future, but love you guys.
Thank you we definitely should.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Right. Yes, indeed. Enjoy your day.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, ladies.
Let's go.